discussing in committee some of the issues that were placed in front of us. We apologize for any inconvenience that might have been caused by that. Because after listening to what was placed in front of us by the evidence leader, we had to apply our minds on our own role of always exercising our duties as a committee of the National Assembly, which is constitutionally bound to do its work in an open and transparent manner, whilst at the same time invoking Section 37 of the Constitution about limiting whatever rights and freedoms that are there. So we always have to balance those issues. So I'm welcoming you as we are about to resume the cross-examination of the witness. And we're going to go straight into that space now for cross-examination. I want to invite, firstly, let me check if Mr. Ndou, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ndou. Can you hear us, Advocate Mpofu?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson.
I now hand over to you.
Thank you.
To begin the cross-examination.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Ndou.
Afternoon, Advocate Mpofu.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm okay, yourself?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah. Okay. I don't think we're going to be very long. I'm just going to deal with, because most of the evidence that was led, including the contents of your Audi letter and your workload and all that, is not relevant to what is before this committee. So I'll try and focus on the issues that are of relevance to the committee, and if necessary, we'll also deal with issues of credibility. Do you understand that?
I do.
Thank you, sir. And in so doing, we'll attempt to protect your rights as much as possible. And if you feel uncomfortable, please do indicate so. Okay?
I will.
Thank you. All right. Now, let's start with you served. According to you, you served from 1999 at the BP's office, correct?
Correct.
And you resigned?
I submitted my resignation letter on 1 November 2018.
1 November 2018. That would be about 7 months or so after the release of the Friday Dairy report, correct? Correct? Yeah, it was released in February.
In February, yes.
Yes. All right. Now, let's just start with the issue of the 7-9 notices, because you start your affidavit by explaining to the committee what those notices entail. Now, with your experience, I think you might be of help, because I think it's one of the gray areas which have kind of eluded some of the witnesses. Maybe I'm going to do it like this, Mr. Ndou. Firstly, to try and locate the importance of a 7-9 notice, or rather of that section. I'll do it by a kind of comparative method. So let's start with your Audi notice. You effectively abandoned ship, at least in the eyes of the public protector, in the hour of need, right? This is now when she was right into the final hours of the intended release of the report, correct?
That's not correct, Advocate Mpofu.
Okay. It was, I'll try it from another angle. It was indicated to you, as you said, by Ms. Mutsitsi, around the period end of January, beginning of February, that the public protector intended to release the report shortly, correct?
I don't recall that, Advocate Mpofu.
Okay, well,
that was not my evidence. My evidence, yes, my evidence, Advocate Mpofu, was to say on the 6th of February.
Yes, that's the beginning of February. That's the thing. Okay. Okay, on the 6th of February, you were told that the PP wanted to release the report shortly, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. And on the 8th of February, you went AWOL, you disappeared.
I did not disappear, Advocate Mpofu. I had applied for leave that was approved with very good reason.
Okay. But okay, let me, maybe disappear is a strong word there. You were not there at that hour of need, correct?
Yes, I was on approved leave.
Yes. The public protector did not know where you were. You did not tell her beforehand when she said you must be here. You didn't say, well, I'm not going to be there because I'm on approved leave, correct?
Correct, but I informed Mr. Mtupi to go in and assist with the finalization.
Yes, Mr. Ndou, that's why I was saying from the point of view of the public protector, I'm going to come to your reasons why you were not there. I'm saying just try for a minute to put yourself in the shoes of the public protector, okay? Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're the public protector. You are in charge of this investigation for all intents and purposes. You being Mr. Ndou, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And as I say, you are aware that the public protector was under tremendous pressure to release this report, correct?
Yes.
You are aware that she was being threatened with legal action by the DA and all sorts of like-minded organizations, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you are aware that she had made undertakings in the Free State legislature that the report would be released as soon as possible, correct?
I don't think I was part of that.
You were not aware. Okay, yes. That's fine. I think, yeah, Mr. Samuel was more aware of that, I suppose, because he was based in the Free State. Yeah. But anyway, you were just aware of the tremendous pressure from whatever quarters for this report to come out, correct?
Yes, and that is why I applied for leave for 2 days only.
Yes, and you were aware that the report had been basically was 4 years, 3 years or 4 years late. By the time the previous public protector left, it had been basically unconcluded for a period of about 4 years, 3 to 4 years, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that the current public protector inherited this problem and was doing her best to deliver on it, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. Now, that's what, against that background, I'm saying, then when you are told that this matter is now has reached a critical point and the public protector wants to release the report. How would you feel if your lead investigator, the person who is responsible for this, is nowhere to be found and you don't know where they are, basically?
My first point of call, Advocate Mpofu, would have been to ask the CEO, the acting CEO, to whom I report. And for me, to be honest, 2 days is not a long period. It could have waited for Monday and Tuesday when I was back in the office.
So the public protector should have waited for you for 2 days without knowing where you were.
But my direct supervisor knew where I was.
No, but for the purposes of this report, you reported to the public protector. You were the key person, correct?
Yes.
So, and you don't understand why she would be concerned or even upset if at that point, which you have been told about, you are not around without even the courtesy of telling her directly that you will not be there. Or do you understand how frustrating that must be for a person in her position?
Advocate Mpofu, the only time I was aware of the mail of the 7th was when I was called by Mr. Mtupi to say the public protector is wondering where you were. Because when I got home, I started preparing for my interview. I did not check my office emails.
Okay, so when you were told on the 7th, he was wondering where you were. Again, you didn't think it would be proper.
It was, sorry, on the 8th, sorry. On the 8th. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fine. And even in your explanation, you did not feel it was necessary to tell the truth about where you were?
About my interview? No, and I'll tell you why. I've had experience in the past where if you go to an interview and you're not successful, some of the people that you report to take it very personally. That is the reason that I felt I did not have to divulge that.
But surely, even if you did not divulge the real reason, even if you didn't want to be open about that, you could have at least divulged that you will not be around. I'm sure you agree with that.
I divulged to the person I reported to, who approved leave.
No, okay. You know what I'm saying. I'm saying you could have divulged that to the public protector who needed you the most at that time, correct?
I could have, yes.
Yes. All right. Now, anyway, the point I wanted to make is this. Upset as she might have been, and as I've demonstrated to you, legitimately so, the step that was taken was to give you the letter, in other words, an opportunity to explain yourself, correct? Correct? I think Mr. Ndou is frozen.
Okay, let's quickly attend to that. Let's take a pause.
Okay.
Allow him to rejoin.
All right. I almost accused him of not answering my question. So I can see he froze. Oops. I didn't read.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Ndou is in a town outside of somewhere in the Eastern Cape that has now experienced load shedding.
There's load shedding.
It's not somewhere in
It's just-
it's East London. It's a very big city.
Wait, Advocate Mpofu in the Eastern Cape. Just continue, Advocate Bauer.
Can we just adjourn? Mr. Ndou's just going to try and ascertain how long the load shedding's for.
Okay.
He said it had gone off earlier and it went back on. So if you just have this communication outside and try and ascertain what's going on.
Fine. We'll take a 5 minutes break.
Yeah, in supporting that, Chair, I think at last we agree with the advocate Mpofu that it's a very big city, East London, not just a town in the Eastern Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Mala.
Bauer did not say that. He says somewhere in the Eastern Cape. So
Must withdraw, Chairperson.
yeah, you must withdraw, yes.
Chair, it just came back on.
Are you back?
Yes, yes, Chairperson.
We're told you had load shedding.
It just went off. Yes, it happened at 5 to 2. Then it went back. It came back on. Now it's back on again. Not sure what's happening.
Yeah, it's not load shedding. It's never quick like that. Must be something else. Thank you, but we're happy to have you back.
Okay, Chairperson.
Advocate Mpofu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Welcome back, Mr. Ndou. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, we broke off where I was saying to you, I was taking a different perspective on this issue of your so-called Audi letter, which is this. Irrespective of however upset or upsetting your conduct was, the step that was taken was in the interest of fairness to give you a chance to explain yourself, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you did that in your view adequately in detail, correct?
I did, yes, correct.
And as a result of that, the matter was put to bed, correct?
Correct.
You were never charged or implicated in wrongdoing because of your explanation, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, I want to juxtapose that just to explain something to you, which is at the core of this issue of freedom. Now, let's look at that as against the purpose of a Section 7.9 notice. You would agree that a Section 7 notice is also an Audi letter, so to speak, correct?
Correct.
In other words, it is intended to give the alleged wrongdoer an opportunity to explain himself or herself like you were given that opportunity, correct?
Correct.
And if that explanation is deemed to be adequate, such as the one you gave about your alleged abscondment, then it would be unfair to proceed with a negative finding, just as it would have been unfair to put you at disciplinary steps when you have given an explanation, correct?
Correct.
Right. Now, the entire hullabaloo around this report is really, in essence, the fact that the Section 7.9 notices, which were issued in June, July 2017, had, among other things, the effect of explaining all the gray areas that had been identified, let's say, in the April report, correct?
I don't understand your question about gray areas.
Okay, let's start it afresh. In the April report of Advocate Cilias, there had been some adverse findings regarding the HOD and or some of the political principles as well, correct?
I do not recall with respect to the April report, because my recollection is that when it came out, I was actually out of the office.
Okay, no, fair enough. But surely, having been at some stage the lead investigator in this, you were able to go back in time and get a historical perspective, probably dating back to the Advocate Madonsela times. Were you not?
The way we used to work, Advocate Mpofu, is to work with the latest report.
I see. You did not go back in time to try and situate that latest report?
No, because reports go through a lot of iterations in the office.
Okay. So you were not aware that at some stage the premier, for example, had been implicated?
Not to my knowledge, no.
But surely you must know that it follows, isn't it, that Section 79 notices are only given to implicated parties?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, if you might not have known whether it's the April or the May or whatever, but you should have known that it must mean that at some stage the person was implicated. Otherwise, why would they be given a Section 79 notice?
Perhaps it might be that the remedial action would have to be by the premier himself, because there was an understanding that the HOD in the Free State did not report to
The MEC.
To the MEC, yes. That might actually explain that.
Yes, yeah, but surely okay. Let's go to Section 7.9. That's why I wanted you to help us here. I'll read it out to you quickly, okay?
Yes, yes.
I'm sure you are familiar with this. It says, if it appears to the public protector during the course of an investigation that any person is implicated in the matter being investigated, and that such implication may be to the detriment of that person, or that an adverse finding pertaining to that person may result, the public protector shall afford such a person an opportunity to respond in connection therewith in any manner that may be expedient under the circumstances. That's really what Section 7.9 says, as you know.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you'd agree with me that it is directed at implicated parties?
Yes, correct.
And therefore, if that's why I'm saying by deductive reasoning, if someone is sent a Section 7.9 notice, that means that they are implicated, and vice versa. If they are implicated, then they deserve a Section 7.9 notice, correct?
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Now, the point is this. Let's park that. I'll come back to it just now. And I accept that you say you did not go back in history as such. But to your knowledge, has there ever been a stage where there was any adverse findings or implication of the Premier and or the MEC beyond what one might call oversight? In other words, there was an allegation, for example, of their failure to take disciplinary steps against the HOD. Would you agree that that was really the full extent of their being implicated?
Yes, in the reports that I've seen, yes, that's correct.
Yes, up to whatever was the latest at the time of your involvement, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Right. And because there's a confusion that is created in this committee, and I suspect deliberately by some of the witnesses, that there was anything beyond that, beyond what you and I have agreed, that was alleged to be an adverse finding or an implication of the Premier and MEC. So thanks. I'm glad you've clarified that.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Not in any report that I personally saw.
Yes,
they might be speaking to other reports other iterations of reports, but not in reports that I personally saw.
That you have ever seen. No, I agree. Well, that's true for you and for me and any other human being. This other stuff is imaginary. That's what I was trying to explain. So what I'm then getting at, by the way, now that you've just correctly assisted us to say in no report that you've ever seen, there's another phantom report that was created. Have you ever seen any report by Mr. Samuel in which he was implicating the politicians in anything other than what you and I have discussed?
I do not recall seeing that report, Chairperson.
Yes. Well, that's probably because it doesn't exist. But he calls it the revised report, which he says he single-handedly drafted and sent to you and the public protector. But I mean, there's no such thing. The public protector says it doesn't exist. You've never seen such a thing.
I don't recall seeing the report.
Yes. And well, you've already said that there's no report that you've ever seen which implicated the politicians in anything higher than oversight, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. That clears that up. Now, the reason why Mr. Samuel then was creating this phantom report called the revised report, and he says he has mislaid it. He doesn't know what happened to it, and he's also lost all the emails that relate to it. In other words, that would be the emails to you and the public protector rendering such a report. And he says he did it defiantly, knowing that the public protector did not want such a thing. You have no recollection of that, correct?
I do not recall that report, Chairperson.
Yeah. Now, I'm saying that the reason why such a phantom report has to be created in the first place is to perpetuate this narrative that there was something which implicated the politicians in something higher than oversight, which the public protector removed, quote unquote. You understand that you can't remove something that is not there, so you must first create it so that you would have removed it. That's what we will argue at the end of the of this matter.
Can I say something, Advocate Mpofu, through you, Chair?
Of course.
Chairperson, I can only speak to reports that I recall. I cannot speak to emails that went missing in Mr. Samuel's laptop. I'm not privy to that, unfortunately.
Yes,
I can only speak to what I recollect, given the time frame also.
No, yes, please be patient with us, Mr. Ndou, and understand why I'm asking you the question. It is to assist the committee to separate the wheat from the chaff. And unfortunately, but unfortunately, I have to ask you these questions. I understand where you're coming from. In other words, what you are saying is that you are not the one who has alleged the existence of such a report. In fairness to you, you haven't said such a thing in your statement, correct?
Yes, and I'm also saying I don't recall any such report.
Yes, no, that you have established, but I thought you were now protesting that you cannot answer about reports that you don't know. So I'm trying to explain to you why I'm asking you the question. I'm asking you the question because Mr. Samuel puts you in the center of this, what I call this phantom report. Okay? And I have to, so therefore I have no choice but to ask you the question. I'm just giving you the background so that you understand and you can bear with me. Mr. Samuel alleges that the people to whom he gave this so-called report, which we say is non-existent, are you and the public protector. Do you understand that?
I understand what you're saying, yes.
Yes. Now, the public protector will say that that is just fiction. There was no such report, and we've already put that to Mr. Samuel. Do you understand that?
I understand what you're saying, yes.
Yes. But now, if I don't ask you about it, then the committee will say, well, maybe the report exists and the public protector is falsely denying its existence, because the only other person who would have seen this is Mr. Ndou, and you didn't say to Mr. Ndou, you didn't ask him whether he saw it. Therefore, we can imply that he must have seen it. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I understand your question, yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's why I'm asking you the question. Now, and I'm saying that maybe the part that is unfair is the fact that you have already said to the committee that you have never seen any report in your life that implicates the politicians beyond the issue of oversight. I accept that. Correct?
Yes, I say I don't recall seeing any such report.
Yes, but if you had, I mean, it stands to reason this would be something that sticks out like a sore thumb. Firstly, it would be some report coming from an individual, in some act of kamikaze type of action, which just like a shot from the blue. You wouldn't forget such a thing. I mean, if there were teams, there were investigators, on, and then suddenly there would have been some report, hard-hitting report from somewhere that has completely new parameters and goes even beyond the complaints of the complainants. You wouldn't forget such a momentous occasion, would you?
We are entering the realm of speculation, Advocate Mpofu. I think I've answered to say I don't recall any such report.
No, Mr. Ndou, please. You know, your job is just to answer the question. If you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer. Don't give us editorials. Okay. I'm saying to you, if such an unusual occurrence had occurred in the midst of this, and you had received and I don't want to repeat myself, so a bolt from the blue of a kind of report from an individual, you would recall such a thing, correct? Because you either would have taken it, throw it away, or do something about it. You wouldn't forget such a big occasion, correct?
I would recall, yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now, and for that, we will argue again at the end that the public protector's version that the so-called revised report was a product of Mr. Samuel's imagination is the only reasonable conclusion. Anyway, back to what we were discussing. I'm saying that now the public protector's version will be that the Premier, let's start with the Premier, indeed gave a detailed explanation in respect of the oversight implication which was directed to him. And my understanding is that at some stage you saw the response. You must have, because you asked to write a follow-up letter, correct? Oh gosh, I think we've lost Mr. Ndou again, Chairperson.
Okay, let's check. It seems frozen again. We will try and locate him again. Just a pause. This time it might be a real load shedding.
Gee, we've ascertained that it's not on a load shedding schedule, so he's going to just wait it out and see if it goes back on.
Thank you, Advocate Bauer.
And he's not in East London.
You're providing too much information.
This is withdrawing earlier accusation.
All we know is that he's in the air virtually, so he could be anywhere, but we'll wait for him.
Okay.